Alright, it's time for me to run a little bit of defense for Tama Lancer because she's going up on rate up, or should already be out on rate up depending on when this video actually goes live on the channel. But regardless, I'm not here to tell you that you should summon for Tama Lancer, but if you did want to summon for her, you can use this video as a bit of a justification. Now do also keep in mind, we have some very strong banners coming up in the next couple of months. You know, Castoria is coming back for the 25 million download campaign. Charlemagne I know is very popular with a lot of people. Same thing for Ruler Moriarty, people really seem to like him. Kriemhild's going to be coming out. If you like funny characters, Don Quixote's releasing. Obviously, Archetype Earth is coming out for Anniversary. And then we have an absolute banger lineup of Summer Servants who are all going to be competing for your Saint Courts. But if you're more of a dolphin or a whale and you're looking at this servant and saying, you know, Tama Lancer's pretty cute, I wouldn't mind, you know, snagging a singular copy and putting her in my Chaldea, or maybe you're just a really big fan of Tomamo and you're wanting to summon for her, not for gameplay reasons, but for wifey reasons. This video is going to be all the justification you need. Which is a little bit ironic because in the background I'm showing a Kiara clear that I did with Tama Lancer, and I did have to speed it up by quite a bit, as you can tell, because her main gimmick is going up against male enemies and being able to absolutely eviscerate them. And Kiara, I don't know if you can tell, is not a male. She's not a dude. So we had to take this one rather slow, I would say. I also didn't bring Black Grail for some reason, but I guess that shows her actual true damage, quote unquote. So we're going to talk about Tama Lancer in today's video, but before we begin, if you have not already, make sure you drop a like on the video and you subscribe to the channel for that daily FGO content. And sometimes, like today, the double daily FGO content. But if you really can't get enough, if 2 videos a day and you're just like, man, I gotta get more FGO content in my life, down in the description down below, I have my Twitch link down there where I stream at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and that is always FGO. Sometimes Tuesdays and Thursdays are like Arc Nights or Star Rail, but Tuesdays, Thursdays are the most inconsistent days. You know, if you get a stream on those days, that's bonus. So without further ado, let's take this as more of a discussion video for Tama Lancer instead of a guide, because I already have a guide for Tama Lancer out on the channel. You know, if you need to see exactly what she does, you can go watch that video. But this is for the people that want a more practical discussion about her. And I guess one of the cons is something I just brought up a little bit ago, is that if you have her at NP1 and you're fighting someone who is not a male, she is going to struggle a little bit for damage, kind of in the same vein that Morgan struggles for damage at NP1 when she's not fighting enemies that have the manpower mod or even round table or Fae to get that little bit of extra damage. When she's not fighting those enemies, you know, Morgan can feel like she's hitting like a wet paper towel. The same thing can be said about Tomamo, but because of that, ironically enough, she is very similar to Morgan in that her crits can do some really good damage because she does have a 50% crit buff for 3 turns. And again, you're probably going to pair her with people like Merlin, who give her a massive buster buff and 100% crit damage, or Koyanskaya, who gives her that 50% buster crit damage, which is also really nice. And so in those team comps, they can take her already pre-existing crit buff that's pretty decent and then amp it up a little bit more. The only thing that I think is very unfortunate is that when they gave her this latest buff, they didn't take the NP gain, debuff resistance, healing rate received, all of that stuff, and make those 3 turns as well. I get that maybe she would be a little too good while the skill is up, because it would be up for 3 turns and down for 3 because of that 6-turn cooldown. But again, with her being more of a year 1 servant, I think that actually would be kind of nice. And the healing received is very, very good because being paired with Merlin, who heals on his NP, you can get some pretty decent heals back, as you'll kind of see in the background footage, that they're able to keep her around fairly effectively because of that 3rd skill. And then the debuff resistance, I think, would just be nice to have up all the time because it's not 100%. And she doesn't have the Goddess Metamorphosis skill. She doesn't have any of that. So this would be her only way of naturally resisting things like stuns, charms, things like Buster Down, Arts Down, Quick Down, stuff like that. It would be kind of nice for her to have that. And then maybe the most broken thing would be the NP gain getting buffed by 50% because, you know, she has really high natural NP gain. Her hits are not the best. I mean, she's got 4-hit quick cards, which I suppose is fine, but 2-hit arts card and only one of those to boot is not the craziest. You know, she's definitely a year 1 Lancer designed character, but if she had that 50% NP gain up for 3 turns, you would be feeling like an absolute dream. Although I will say it does always make it feel nice when you're playing with Tama Lancer to have that extra invincibility in the back pocket, especially if you're going for more of a double Koyanskaya burst the boss down type of build, and you need some way to get around, say, a break bar that's going to charge the boss's max HP to max, and they're going to immediately fire an NP. Having that ready in the back pocket is very, very nice. Also, because she does have a 30% battery, technically you can use her as a buster looper. There's nothing that really comes to mind right now of a 111 node that was all dudes, but if that does happen, I'm sure everybody will rant and rave about this is Tomamo Lancer's time to shine. But technically, if you do need somebody to get the single target farming done, you can use a Tama Lancer. I mean, there will be a very large 1 million Kentucky towards the end of the year. I don't think a NP1 Tama Lancer can take that out even with the power mod, but if you have NP2 or you have high investment in Black Rail, maybe you might be able to take her out. But yeah, her third skill is very, very nice. And again, her NP feels fairly strong when you're going up against male enemies, and when you're not fighting male enemies, it's literally just an extra buster card because it's not doing a whole lot. It's not even lowering defense. That is kind of a con for her, is that she doesn't have, bombing stars, refunding NP. I mean, can you imagine if she had the original Tomamo gimmick of reducing the entire party's skill cooldown by 1, or even her own by maybe 2? That would be really, really nice, but we unfortunately don't have that. So again, be mindful that the NP doesn't really do a whole lot unless you're fighting dudes, so maybe let her just stick to her niche, because again, as you're seeing in the background, it does take her quite a bit to actually take down Kielra. We get there eventually, with no fuss or anything, but it does take me a fat minute to get there. I will also say to be a bit mindful about the second skill. The second skill is kind of nice as an extra source of damage and technically more survivability because you are able to charm the enemy, and it's not, chance based, so you don't have to worry about those weird janky year 1, charms or stuns that are like 80% or something. You still got to factor in the enemy's magic resistance and stuff like that, but if they don't have that, like Tama Lancer herself, then it's basically just a guaranteed way to buy yourself a turn. And then again, 30% defense down for 3 turns is fairly nice. Unfortunately, it's on a 7-turn cooldown. I wish they would, knock that down by 1 turn. It's a little bit annoying. The curse that she has on here will actually age rather well, as we do have a CE over on the JP side of things that not only starts you off with 50% NP, but gives you a curse power mod. So that might be something to keep your eye out for whatever we do get that CE in about 2 years. You might see the charging the enemy's NP gauge by 1 as a demerit, but I actually think the better you get at the game, the more you can actually take advantage of something like this, because you can manipulate when the enemy will fire their NP, which is especially nice if that enemy, say, has a battery or an NP gain skill, because those skills always give them 1 to 2 ticks of NP, and they can catch you off guard. Sometimes they can just give themselves their battery skill in the middle of the turn, and then booty blast you with an NP. With this, you kind of control when they fire the NP, so you could force it to go max, and then you stun them as well, so you basically get another turn to prepare for the guaranteed NP. Or even if it whiffs and they have debuff immunity, you're at least forcing them to fire their NP now when you're maybe a bit more better prepared for it. Say you're bringing Castoria into your team comp because you want more survivability, but your solemn defense hits, something that I find myself, you'll have them up and they're actually going to go away based on their turn restriction and not their hit restriction. And if you want to keep that around and get the most value out of it on that turn, you could force them to fire that NP that turn, which I think is super, super nice. Then her first skill, it's just an attack skill. You're probably not going to be taking advantage of the crit star gen for the male enemies. I mean, it's nice. 42% is not terrible, but considering who you're going to be pairing her with, I mean, imagine if it just gave it to all allies, because then Koyanskaya could become an absolute star bomb magnet because she's already an assassin, so her natural star gen is really, really high. Imagine you could give this to her, but unfortunately it only goes to male allies, and that means you're probably going to be bringing her with, say, someone like Merlin, and Merlin you're always going for the arts cards because you want to fire his NP, go figure. So the first skill, I'm not going to say is a nothing burger, but you're really just using it to get Tamamo's own attack buff, so she can do some type of damage if you're not fighting male enemies. But all in all, I don't think she is a bad servant. You know, I think if you want to bring her to go fight some dudes, she can do very well. Even neutral, I think she's absolutely fine going into them. It's just kind of a hard sell unless you're a huge Tomamo fan, like myself. If you like Tomamo, then you'll definitely find spots to use her. I pulled her on the GSSR for New Year's, and everybody in my chat was telling me, hey, this is an L pull, you know, this is a bad one to get. But I knew that my love for Tomamo was eternal, and that I would get a ton of value out of her, and I have tried to bring her to every single quest that I've been able to bring her to. And again, having a basic package of attack, defense down, survivability, battery, and a decent power mod, that's not a lot, you know, that year one servants are walking away with. I mean, a lot of our year one servants are still kind of mid, you know, they fixed up some of them, like say Gilgamesh and Artoria, but they're always going to be good. They're the poster children of fate. You know, someone like Tomamo, I think it's really good that she's still as good as she is. Nothing super groundbreaking or anything, but again, the fact that she has a niche that she does very well, I think is rather awesome. So let me know in the comments down below what you think of Tama Lancer, and let me know if you're going to be summoning or if you've already summoned and if you were able to get your grubby little mitts on her. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.